Chelsea fans, welcome back to another week of Chelsea Chat with me, Moose, and JB. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification, and comment below. We love to hear your thoughts around Chelsea and how we've got on over the last week. So, Jamie, we've got a fun-packed podcast for our fans today. We're going to go review the Newcastle game, go through what was an impressive win for us again, another win on the route. Took us to top spot yesterday. Not for long, but it's enough to savour where we are. Then looking forward towards Rennes, and then looking forward to the weekend, which is going to be an interesting game for Tottenham. So let's kick off with the Newcastle game. Let's start off. Another great win on the road. Newcastle typically is a game in which trips us up time and time again. It always takes me back to Papa Cisse scoring those 2 wonder goals against Czech and gives me nightmares. But we did a job. Everyone played their part and we got 3 points on the board. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think, as you said, job done. I think, in spells we played well. We created a lot of chances. Probably should have scored quite a few more. There was a lot of missed opportunities there, especially Werner had quite a good few chances where he should have probably got himself a few goals and helped me out in fantasy football because he was my captain. So that was a bit annoying. But I think, Newcastle didn't exactly push us to perform better than we did. They didn't really come at us. They didn't really cause us any problems. And their game plan fell apart after 10 minutes when we got the first goal anyway. So that just kind of interrupted everything that they were about on the day. So, good performance, good win. Not outstanding, but as you said, job done. And very nice to get the 3 points considering how difficult we find it every time we go there. As you said, just a nightmare. Last season is the one really for me that brings back nightmares because we're all over the whole game, just couldn't break through. And then the last kick of the game, they went and got the winner. And it was just that was exactly what, that's the kind of thing you're scared of happening every time. And I was thinking in this game, I said last week, players like Ziyech are the ones that are going to be key for us to break through that block. Luckily, we didn't need him to because we got an early goal. And it just killed off their game plan. Very happy with the 3 points. Took us top for a small period of time. But yeah, as you said, I relished that. Took a few screenshots, sent it off to some friends of the opposition. Just gloat for the time we can. We don't know if we're going to be there again, so it was nice.
To be honest, where we are at the moment, I think sort of as you say, we didn't play amazingly well. And I think sort of credit where credit's due. We got 3 points on the board, dominated possession. I think it was 71% possession from us. So literally dominated that. I'm looking at the stats now. 14 shots, 3 on target. So they should have been better. But we always looked threatening, and I think sort of that's the big piece for us is. We had a new dynamic, and we were talking around this just before we came on the podcast. The lineup yesterday was quite interesting, and we'll talk around it from both attacking and defensively. That dynamic change was quite interesting for us because I think sort of it gives Lampard such a great headache to have. And the fact that he's got players who are now hungry to go and play, and potentially giving us different ways in which we can go and play it and form up against opposition. So if we start with defensive, Thiago Silva not in the squad, I believe slight injury, and bear in mind 37-year-old player. He's not going to play every game.
I think with him, I think with him, it's a case of the travel that they have to do. Obviously, with COVID, the games for South American teams are not being taken place in Europe, which they used to. So the players in South America, they have to travel there and back. And considering we were playing early kickoff on a Saturday and Thiago Silva got back to the UK on Friday morning, it definitely wasn't ideal for him to play. But I honestly think after every international break, you might see him definitely be rested a little bit. I can't imagine he'll be playing too much after those internationals.
And it's interesting. So we saw Rudiger deputise for him. So I think Rudiger's gaining a bit more faith back from Lamps after last season. But I think the main man there is Kurt Zouma. In the middle of the park, has absolutely stepped up his game. I think sort of for a player to go up against someone like Andy Carroll and win pretty much 90% of every header that comes into that just seems to sort of command, which he wasn't doing this season, or this time last season, sorry. And I think a great point you made was sort of, if you look at our defence in the middle of the park, especially Kurt Zouma and Rudiger, nothing's changed since last season. But one massive difference is the fact you've got Edouard Mendy in the sticks behind him. And I think that's also another element that can't be underrated in that space. He dominated. Every ball came in through, collected it, absolutely sort of, you knew he had his back. And I think that's given Zouma a massive confidence boost. Rudiger's still a little bit shaky. First game back in. Not amazing, but wasn't tested either. But I think it's going to be interesting how that dynamic changes, because you've seen Zouma now sort of walking into sort of probably one of the best defenders at the moment in the Premier League. It's now just sort of, obviously you've got a good rub off from Thiago Silva on him starting to improve his intelligence of the game. I think we are still missing that one. We don't have Thiago Silva and an intelligent defender and organisation, but you've got Chilwell, Reece James, solid on the wings and give us such an attacking threat. But defensively, we just seem so much better. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that. It just seems to be, I feel a lot more confident in when Newcastle and other teams attack us. I don't feel like we're going to let a goal go every time they start running towards our net.
Yeah, it's definitely a confidence builder. Even just those few clean sheets we've had now, it just makes you feel a little bit better about the fact that we're not going to concede every time there's a shot on goal like we did last season, pretty much. Just having Mendy there is, just saves me so many heart attacks during games. I think, the centre back too. I think it will go back to Thiago Silva and Zouma for, if not for the Rennes game, definitely for the Spurs game. But yeah, no, Rudiger had a fairly decent game. As you said, very rusty. But he wasn't really put under much pressure from Newcastle. Neither was Zouma, to be fair. And even if Newcastle were going to try it, there was no chance because Kante was just cleaning everything up in the middle anyway. He was absolutely ridiculous yesterday. Every time they had any kind of sniff, he was in there winning tackles, turning it into an attack, and absolutely outstanding. So I think we found a really good balance with this formation and the players that we've got, with the attack and the defence. And whilst we went and spent a lot of money on attackers, I think Lampard realised we do have the defenders here to make it work. We just needed a couple of changes here and there. It wasn't like we had no one good in defence. We needed a whole new back five. It was just a few tweaks here and there, and we've managed to do that. So, even from corners or wide free kicks, any kind of set pieces, we were always struggling. Just having Mendy there, coming out and actually claiming the balls, it just takes off so much pressure from the defenders having to clear it themselves every single time. He probably gets about 50% of the ones that we would have conceded last season. So it just makes it so much easier for the defenders and gives them so much confidence in dealing with those situations. It's looking so much better, and I think we're second best defense in the league, or joint second best defense in the league so far. I think only perhaps Wolves, I think it might be, who's conceded less than us, but they've obviously still got a game to play. So we've improved our defense tenfold. It's been night and day from last season.
Yeah, and if we look at the other side of the pitch, interesting lineups. You had Tammy, Timo, and Hakim leading the line, and it's interesting because what I've really seen is that hunger back from Tammy. I think as we saw, we came back from lockdown, and there was an announcement that Timo was coming into the squad, and that seemed to have knocked Tammy's confidence completely. And that dynamic worked. I mean, we saw Ziyech in the last game absolutely tear the team a new one, and he didn't disappoint today. Seeing Timo moving more onto the wing, still threatening. I mean, I'd like him to have been a bit more clinical yesterday, but still amazing player in that space. And then Tammy just brought a different dynamic, being able to hold up the ball, being able to sort of bring that different angle to our forward line is interesting, because it gives Lampard such an interesting headache. And the fact that we've got Pulisic still to come back into the squad, Hudson-Odoi is still very hungry and still challenging. And equally, when he came on, still looked like a bright spot. He wasn't brought on, I think, sort of 76th minute, and still running towards the front of goal. He wants to score goals. I can't really knock him on that. So, what were your thoughts on the forward line? It's interesting, to be honest, from my perspective.
Yeah, I think, as you said, Werner probably slightly off, except for obviously the assist for the Abraham goal, because that run was just outrageous. That was kind of like watching Pulisic play. It was brilliant. I think the Werner being on the wing is a really interesting point, because when I saw him play on the wing against Liverpool, and we had Havertz playing as like a false nine, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I thought, no, he should be playing as a striker. He's wasted out there. He's not getting the opportunities. He shouldn't be out on the wing crossing the ball in. That's not his game. But when he plays that position with Tammy, completely different story, because Tammy's dropping deeper. He's holding the ball up, and then you've got players like Werner making those inward runs. So he's almost like that, still like the main striker almost, because as I said, Abraham's pulling in, dropping deep, holding the ball up, and it's Werner that's making those runs in behind. So he's almost still the most attacking threat there. It's just the way we line up. And usually most teams would have someone on the other side doing the same thing, so you'd have two. But again, that's not really Ziyech's game. He likes to cut inside and then whip a ball in. But when you've got those two kind of different approaches on each side, it's really, it'll confuse teams, and they won't really know how to adjust to that. So I think it's very dangerous the way we play. It really will make teams struggle. However, can you really leave Pulisic out? And that's the trouble. I think, the way we've been playing in the recent games with Abraham up there, we've looked perfectly balanced. We're not conceding goals, but we're scoring a fair amount of goals.
Yeah.
Can you really change that? It's difficult. I'm glad I'm not Frank Lampard in this situation, because it's going to be a bloody difficult decision to make for him.
Do you know what? But it's light and day since last season, where he literally you had to play Mount, you had to play Tammy, and don't get me wrong, they earned their positions and earned their place on the starting lineup. But there was pretty much Giroud and Tammy, and that was what we had to pick from. And you've now got a major headache on their hands, which is such an amazing sort of position to be in. But I think sort of if we go back to sort of the performance yesterday, great performance. It's one of those things that you'll look back on at the end of the season and go, it's not a memorable game, but it's a result that just came out that could have been something we just struggled with. It's sort of Newcastle at the moment having sort of up and down games, and equally could have produced a result that would have turned us around. We were lucky in the fact that Callum Wilson isn't there, wasn't challenging us so much, but it's one of those ones where if you want to sort of challenge for the title, you've got to win those games. And that for me,
it's the kind of game we would have tripped up on last season for sure.
So perfect result for me. Some good performances. I think for me, standout player Kante, just sort of completely didn't sort of. If you weren't watching him, you wouldn't have really seen what his impact was to the game. But just sort of is back to his best in my eyes in that space.
100%.
And there were some other standout performances. I think Chilwell is just becoming a standout performer. Timo doing well. Ziyech playing amazing. Sort of Tammy sort of bringing in. Mason Mount still playing well. Zuma, for me, doing absolutely amazing still. I think it's nicely coming together. I think it's going to be really interesting in the next couple of games when Havertz comes back. I think if I was Lampard, I'd do what he did with Pulisic. You sort of take him out of the limelight and reintroduce him slowly. Now, I know he's a big sort of money transfer, but you saw the value in which you gave Pulisic more time to integrate, more time to understand how to sort of play, and then brought him in. And the impact he brought was much better than sort of knocking his confidence week after week. And the benefit that we've got this season is he doesn't necessarily need to fit in. We just need to go and find a position that he's going to do well. Because it's not on the wing, because we've got too many options there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's up top. It's probably in a 2 number 8s role, but we just need to work out how you play all three, sort of Mount, Kante, Kovacic is earning his stripes there. It's just going to be interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, we're definitely stacked in that midfield area. I think I'd still think, for me, Havertz and Mount in those two positions are what we need long term. I think Kovacic doesn't offer enough attacking. In that sense, he's not a goal threat. But yeah, he has played well in that position, and in terms of the team, the fluidity of the way we're playing, helping to build those attacks up, he's done a very good job. But for me, I'd still bring back Havertz straight away, because I think the more he plays, I think the more up to speed he gets with the Premier League, with the team. And I think he can only improve just by getting minutes on the pitch.
Yeah. So, looking forward, we've got the Rennes game coming up this week. What are your thoughts? Obviously got a good result against them last time. Who do you reckon is going to play? Do you reckon he's going to change anything around?
I'd like to see him mix it up a little bit. I think, we had a lot of players on international duty, as we, discussed last week. A lot of players doing very well in international duty. I would like to see some players rested, in all honesty. I think, the game, we won't jump ahead yet, but the massive game we have at the weekend is so vital, not just as Chelsea fans disliking Tottenham, but in terms of any kind of potential title challenge that we might want to be involved in. That game is huge. So yeah, it would be nice if we could, if not start some of the fringe players, but potentially if we get a decent lead, then start to bring them off in the second half and save their legs for the weekend, because that's a vital game. And I think we're kind of lucky, obviously we play on Tuesday, whereas the opposition for the weekend, they're playing on Thursday. So that might give us an advantage anyway. But no, I would like to see some of those lads get a bit of a rest, if possible. So a slightly rotated team, I would imagine. Potentially you might see someone like Jorginho come in for Kante, something like that. You're not playing a weak player. You're playing someone that's very, very capable in that position. And I think he can come in and do a very good job in a game of that magnitude. It's not a massive game. We've already done very well in the group, so it's not like we're in danger of not qualifying as it stands. I don't want to jinx anything. I would like to see a bit of rotation just to rest some legs for the big game on Sunday.
Yeah, personally, I'd like to see a bit of a change up, to be honest. One or two players probably keep their sort of position in the squad. I'd like to see Tammy start. But sort of there's a few players like Werner and those guys I would prefer didn't play, because I think they're going to be vitally important for the game at the weekend.
Good game for Callum, perhaps, to come in and get a start.
Yeah, definitely early stripes on that one. Because I think, as you say, sitting at the top of our group in the Champions League, Rennes, definitely never difficult, but or sort of easy equally. But I'd just like to make sure that we don't mess up, because Spurs currently sitting top of the table. Mourinho seems to be doing very well with the squad he's got. I mean, sort of a lot of people this time last year were questioning Tottenham's decision to bring in someone like a Mourinho. I think we've all watched the Tottenham all or nothing now. We know that Mourinho's got the opportunity. He's brought in the right sort of players. I mean, Son and Kane themselves are outstanding players. horrific goal threat, bringing someone like Bale to that mix, equally impressive. But I think sort of something of the stuff that I've seen most understated by Mourinho is bringing in some of those squad players like Højbjerg or a number of other sort of Doherty and stuff like that, that just seem to have strengthened the overall Spurs squad. To your point earlier, though, Jamie, they're not necessarily got the deepest of squads, which is to our benefit around the duration and marathon that is the season. But you never put anything past Mourinho. Mourinho's out for blood. Sort of, he's had twice in sort of his careers at United and Tottenham been sort of upset by Chelsea and sort of not got the results he wanted in sort of the Son incident last season, the 4-0 that we beat him whilst in his first game back at the Bridge. He probably wants to do one over on Chelsea, so that'll be a personal vendetta, if anything. You've then obviously got Spurs. They're more than happy to try and put one over on Chelsea, and then they're challenger for the top of the league. So it's big game.
Massive, absolutely massive. I think he obviously the way that Spurs are playing now, it almost reminds me of a Chelsea of old. You know, with the main attacking threat being Son and Kane. It's almost like that Lampard Drogba link up that you used to see back in the day. I think I saw a stat where the two partnerships which have been most assists and goals combination for Premier League history was Lampard and Drogba and Son and Kane. So he's got that deadly duo again, obviously in a different team. He's got them playing very well, but as I said to you before we started, I think it's the strength and depth that they might be lacking, when Kane gets injured, because it's almost an every season thing these days. When he gets injured, is their backup good enough? We've only seen him play a couple of games in the Europa League, and I'll be honest, I can't even remember what the guy's name is. But it's a long season and it's a very condensed season this year. So I think when it comes to it, if they get a few injuries, Son and Kane, if they're both out, they've got Bale, but what else? I think that's when they might start dropping off a bit. So we'll have to wait and see. But for the here and now, this game is absolutely humongous. I think we're kind of helped out by the fact that Alderweireld got injured this weekend. So hopefully that will see him miss the game. Obviously, I don't want to wish injuries on people, but it'd be nice for him not to play. He's their centre defender powerhouse. But to be fair, Dyer's been playing really well as well. In the games I've seen, he's been really, really good partner in Alderweireld back there. So, it's not going to be an easy game at all. I think potentially this will be our toughest game of the season so far. I know we've played Liverpool and United already. The Liverpool game, obviously, we had those issues where Christiansen got sent off. It was one of those things. And then Kepa made that huge error. Could have been a different game. But I think this one's going to be that game where it could be make or break for our title challenge. We're at that stage now where we're on a good run. And this is the kind of game that could either keep you going and keep you rolling, get that spirit up to its highest, or it could just completely kill everything off, and that feeling, that feel good factor could just be gone. So I really think this is a big swing game for us. Whichever way it goes, it's almost a season defining kind of game.
That's the big thing for us. He's one of those ones where we'll probably look back on it, and equally sort of Mourinho is going to go in on a high after beating City 2-0. And they did have a very good performance in that space. It's going to be really interesting just to see how they react in that area. And then for me, just sort of, it's one of those ones that we need to sort of get a big club sort of win under our belt. Just sort of another sort of one to sort of, everyone sort of always talks around your sort of season defining, beating the big six clubs and sort of grinding out the results. And I'm not sure we've grinded out the results, and we've got a few good wins and a few nice sort of big number of wins under the belt. But I just we haven't got a big win from sort of beating a City or beating a Liverpool or beating an Arsenal yet. And I think we just need to get on that piece that we prove that we're we haven't just slightly improved ourselves, that we can absolutely demolish the big club. Because I think sort of at the beginning of the season, I don't think we would have all put ourselves down for title challenges. But not only are we playing well, I think sort of it's a difficult season this season. People are reacting very differently to not having clubs, sort of fans in the grounds, and other people are sort of having different injuries. It's been one of those strange ones. I think it's going to be slightly easier, but also a lot harder in different sort of angles to win the league this season. And that's why you're seeing teams like Southampton, Aston Villa, sort of those sorts of clubs are sort of at the moment still in the top sort of 6, because sometimes it's not as big for them to have the fans in the sort of thing. But you look at the Arsenals, you look at the Uniteds, they have struggled massively. I think that United's first win of the season at home last night.
Yeah.
It just and they look like a different club at the moment.
Very lucky to get that win as well, I would say.
And unreal that they seem to sort of keep grinding out those sorts of ones. And at the moment, I think it's saving Ollie's job. I think he's on sort of he's currently on sort of the last chance, and every time it's been given to him, he sort of manages to grind out a result from pure air, and sometimes from after the final whistles happened.
Yeah, I mean, it made me laugh yesterday. I think the referee was just going to let Penandez just keep taking penalties until he scored it. Obviously, he missed it, and then the ref was like, "Oh, sorry, mate. Did you want to try again?"
Yeah,
let him have another go.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll be sitting there watching the Tottenham game, and I feel that we've got a real chance on us this season. I think my big worry is that he hits on the break with pace and how we deal with that. So hopefully we'll bring on Thiago Silva with a bit of a intelligent head. I'm hoping Lampard doesn't play into any mind tricks with Jose, because we know it's coming this week.
Of course. He'll be moaning about the fact that they've got to play on Thursday instead of Tuesday.
Oh, of course. He'll put the excuses up front. And equally, it'll be interesting because Lampard has sometimes played up to that sort of stuff. I hope he doesn't go defensive, because I think our massive benefit is to hit people on the break and score goals rather than overly defend. So I'd hate to see us have 5 at the back, as much as sometimes it's worked well for us. I just don't feel it is right with the squad we've got at the moment.
Yeah. As I said before, our balance at the moment is really, really good. It's been working the way we're playing. And I'd rather him stick to what we're doing well at the moment and potentially see the faults in that, rather than gamble and go change it up and then get shown up because of it. I'd rather him just not make that error and just keep to what's working at the moment.
Yeah.
There's no point changing things. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And it's not just not broke, it's working for us very, very well. So there's no need to change at all. And I don't think he will, to be honest.
No, I don't think he will. I just, you never know with the Mourinho effect.
Yeah.
So I think sort of next week, what we'll try and do is go through just any. We're coming up to sort of obviously December periods, which is going to run into sort of January. I don't see us spending too much, but we might sort of dip into sort of where it's sort of our wish list as the Chelsea Chat podcast for any additional signings we'd like to see to improve on where we are from our current standings, which will hopefully be quite an easy conversation. We'll give you guys an update to the Rennes game and the Spurs game off the back of that, and sort of give you our thoughts as to how those have gone. And then we'll obviously look forward to the fixtures after that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And don't forget to comment below. You stay classy, Chelsea fans.